Hey everyone, welcome back to Film Odyssey channel, your go-to spot for deep dives into classic films. Today, we're diving into the Shawshank Redemption, a timeless masterpiece that runs for 142 minutes. Let's get into it. This is a crime film directed by Frank Darabont, released in 1994 in the United States of America. The screenplay was written by Stephen King and Frank Darabont. The movie stars Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, Bob Gunton, William Sadler, and Clancy Brown. With its powerful storytelling and compelling performances, it has earned a remarkable rating of 8.7 on TMDb, and 9.3 on IMDb. In the 1940s, a formerly successful banker, Andy Dufresne, is wrongfully imprisoned for the double murder of his wife and her lover. He begins a new, torturous life at the gloomy Shawshank prison. Using his accounting skills for an amoral warden, Dufresne earns admiration from his fellow inmates, including a wise long-term prisoner named Red, for his integrity and unquenchable sense of hope. The film chronicles Dufresne's unique way of dealing with his unjust incarceration, and the friendships he forms along the way. Andy Dufresne, a quiet and meticulous banker, is convicted of murdering his wife and her lover, despite maintaining his innocence. The circumstantial evidence is damning: his presence near the scene, the disappearance of his gun, and his bitter confrontation with his wife before the murders. Sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms, he is sent to Shawshank Prison in 1947. At Shawshank, Andy is introduced to a harsh, brutal world governed by corruption, violence, and despair. He initially keeps to himself, drawing the attention of Ellis "Red" Redding, a seasoned inmate known for procuring contraband. Red becomes intrigued by Andy's calm demeanor and soon befriends him. When Andy asks for a rock hammer and later a poster of Rita Hayworth, Red obliges, though he's puzzled by the banker's quiet purpose. Andy suffers repeated abuse at the hands of a group of predatory inmates known as the Sisters, led by Boggs. Despite the violence, he refuses to be broken. When a work detail surfaces to tar a roof, Andy uses his financial knowledge to save the prison guard Hadley from losing his inheritance to taxes. In return, he requests beers for his fellow inmates. The act earns him the respect of the other prisoners and marks a turning point in his status within Shawshank. Andy holds on to hope despite the relentless violence and dehumanization around him. Through small but defiant acts, like playing Mozart over the loudspeakers, rebuilding the prison library, and quietly envisioning life in Zihuatanejo, he transforms hope into a form of resistance. Even when Red cynically warns that hope can drive a man insane, Andy insists it's the one thing they can't take from him. In Shawshank's grey and stony world, hope becomes his quiet rebellion. Eventually, Andy's talents draw the attention of the corrupt warden Norton, who uses Andy to launder illicit funds under a fake identity, Randall Stevens. Andy's moved out of laundry duty and into the prison library, where he assists guards with financial matters and inmates with education, including helping Red get his GED. He writes countless letters to the state for funding, slowly transforming the neglected library into the best in New England. A major emotional blow strikes when Brooks, an elderly inmate, is released after 50 years. Unable to adjust to the outside world, Brooks takes his own life, a tragic example of the institutionalization that haunts long-term prisoners. The event shakes the inmates, especially Red, who begins to fear his own release someday. When a young inmate named Tommy arrives, Andy finds new purpose in mentoring him. He patiently teaches Tommy to read and guides him through his studies, helping him work toward a high school diploma. The experience reignites Andy's hope and gives meaning to the slow grind of prison life. But everything changes when Tommy reveals a shocking story: a former cellmate had confessed to a double murder that matched the details of Andy's case. Seeing a possible path to freedom, Andy pleads with the warden for a new trial. But Norton, prioritizing his own interests and fearing exposure of his laundering scheme, coldly dismisses the claim. Andy's desperate protest is met not with compassion but punishment. He is thrown into solitary confinement. The desperation in his voice underscores the crushing injustice. This isn't just about legal documents, it's about a man's life being ignored. Upon his release from the hole, Andy seems changed, withdrawn, focused, and resolute. He shares with Red his dream of escaping to Zihuatanejo, a Mexican coastal town, and asks Red, if he ever gets out, to find a specific hayfield and retrieve something buried beneath a volcanic rock. One morning, Andy is missing from his cell. After a frantic search, the prison staff discover that he has escaped. Using the rock hammer Red once procured for him, Andy spent nearly 2 decades digging a tunnel behind his poster-covered cell wall. He escaped through the prison's sewage pipe, crawling to freedom under the cover of a storm. Once outside, Andy puts his years of planning into action. Under his alias Randall Stevens, he retrieves the laundered money, over $370,000, and sends incriminating evidence to the press. The fallout is immediate. Captain Hadley is arrested, and Warden Norton takes his own life before he can be caught. Red is eventually granted parole after serving 40 years. Initially lost and frightened in the outside world, much like Brooks, he struggles with life on the outside. But remembering Andy's unwavering faith and final instructions, he finds the hayfield in Buxton and uncovers a letter inviting him to join Andy in Zihuatanejo. With renewed hope, Red violates his parole and sets out on a journey to reunite with his friend. As he heads south, Red reflects on Andy's escape as the ultimate act of faith, and on how Andy's enduring belief in hope had, against all odds, taken root in him too. He dreams of the blue waters of the Pacific and the freedom that awaits, whispering to himself, "I hope." Andy Dufresne, a wrongfully convicted banker, begins as a quiet, enigmatic figure but reveals resilience, intelligence, and unshakable hope. Enduring abuse and injustice, he transforms Shawshank through education, compassion, and strategic brilliance. His mentorship of inmates and symbolic acts, like playing Mozart, make hope tangible. The discovery of a potential exoneration and the warden's betrayal mark a turning point, deepening his resolve. His daring escape and quiet redemption embody the film's core message: hope and dignity endure even in captivity. To viewers and fellow inmates alike, Andy becomes a symbol of perseverance and spiritual freedom. Ellis Boyd Red Redding, a lifer known for smuggling goods inside Shawshank, begins as a pragmatic realist, re-signed to prison life. Initially skeptical of hope, he's deeply moved by Andy's resilience and quiet faith. Over time, Red's cynicism softens, especially after witnessing Brooks's tragic fate. Andy's escape and parting message inspire Red's transformation, from institutionalized survivor to a man willing to dream again. His final journey to reunite with Andy symbolizes renewal, and for audiences, Red embodies the aching cost of time and the liberating power of hope. Warden Samuel Norton is a power-hungry, corrupt figure who oversees Shawshank Prison. Initially appearing respectable, his true nature is revealed through his exploitation of Andy Dufresne for personal gain. His emotional coldness and disregard for justice lead to a tragic downfall when his criminal activities are exposed. Norton's role highlights themes of corruption, authority, and the consequences of unchecked power, serving as a stark contrast to Andy's hope-driven resilience. Audience reactions often view him as a symbol of oppressive systems, emphasizing his ultimate failure in the face of truth and justice. Haywood is a laid-back, somewhat cynical inmate at Shawshank Prison. His humorous, casual attitude masks a deeper awareness of the grim realities of prison life. He exhibits a supportive, though occasionally reluctant, loyalty to his fellow inmates, such as when he calms Brooks during a crisis. Despite his initial indifference, Hayward's interaction with characters like Red and Brooks reveals a complex emotional landscape, highlighting the theme of institutionalization. The audience views him as both a source of comic relief and a symbol of the struggles inherent in long-term imprisonment. Captain Hadley is a ruthless and corrupt prison guard, serving as the enforcer of Shawshank's brutal system. His harsh demeanor and willingness to use violence for personal gain are evident, particularly in his mistreatment of inmates. However, his character is crucial in reinforcing the theme of corruption and power abuse within the prison. Audiences view him with disdain, but his eventual arrest symbolizes justice and the downfall of the oppressive system he helped sustain. Hadley's actions emphasize the consequences of unchecked authority. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. This line, spoken by Red, encapsulates the prisoner's psychological survival mechanism in Shawshank, rejecting hope as a means of self-preservation. In a world where time stagnates and injustice reigns, hope feels like a cruel illusion, intensifying suffering when freedom remains out of reach. Red's fear of hope reflects years of institutionalization, where dreams become dangerous liabilities. Yet, the film ultimately reveals this belief as a defense, not a truth. Through Andy's unwavering optimism and eventual escape, the narrative reclaims hope as a quiet act of resistance. Its persistence, not its absence, becomes the path to redemption. The Shawshank Redemption is a psalm of hope. In the cold and depressing Shawshank prison, Andy spent 20 years chiseling through the walls and the prison of fate. He taught Tommy to read and ignited his faith, only to end up in heartbreaking solitary confinement as the truth was trampled on. The cry of that moment was one of despair at the indifference of the system. Yet, he didn't give up. As he climbed out of 500 yards of sewage and roared into the sky in the rain, a thunderbolt flashed through the audience's mind, a light of hope that never went out. For me, this is the most moving interpretation of busy living. If this movie recap didn't put you to sleep, smash that like button and hit subscribe. Film Odyssey.